Welcome back to the Bro Show. How are you all doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm sorry about the delay of this episode. I've been in a bit of a mental rut, I guess, on like what to make this episode because I dealt with some family drama in relation to this show, which is, rough because the show has been getting primarily very positive feedback, but this isn't new to me, having, my family not enjoy the art I put out there. My family's very religious, I'm not. But also, I did make a podcast shitting directly on a particular immediate family member of mine, which wasn't the best thing to do. And I've recorded like 3 podcasts already and not released them. Like, not really knowing what I want my public position to be on it. Should I just ignore it? Should I publicly apologize? I did take the episode down just to, keep some peace in the family. Because, at the end of the day, I do love my family. But it's like, I guess like I wanted to like go in depth today of like how much leeway should you give to your art in order to appease your family? And I think 0, none. The only exception here is that, I shout out a family member directly, which is why I took it down. And if you're listening, if you're watching, I'm sorry. And the weird part is I'm not sorry about what I said. I believe it all, but I'm sorry I did it publicly, which is an apology that will please, virtually 0 people. To be like, hey, all the stuff I said about you, I meant every word, but I'm sorry I did it in a public forum. It's just it's almost better if I don't say anything. But I try to pride myself on being as honest as I can. And I've gotten some nice messages being like, the reason I love your podcast is it's so honest, it's so real. Just keeping it too real. But yeah, man, it's been a weird one. Especially weird because at the same time that drama was happening, like the family member being upset about the podcast, about her. My parents were also, had been getting messages from their friends upset about the content of my show, excluding the, making fun of that one family member, like other things, like upset that I was making fun of essential workers. And guess who was upset about that? Essential workers. And it's hard because I've worked incredibly hard on separating my art from my family because my family's religious. And I eventually had to come to a point where I accepted that my family wasn't going to enjoy or appreciate the majority of the art I put out in the world, because the majority of the stuff that I find funny and that I like is very offensive. Not necessarily edgy, but, offensive to some people. Like, the demographic of my show is not 50-year-old housewives. It's just not. 50-year-old Christian housewives. I'll preface it with that. And a lot of them just didn't understand the comedic nuance of the show. And, of course, what they did, instead of talking to me about it or just turning it off, they went directly to my parents, knowing it would upset them, while I have straight out told my parents, hey, don't listen to the podcast. It's not for you. I've told family friends of mine who are religious, who I love dearly, like, hey, don't listen to the podcast. It's not for you. And they haven't. But then there's some that, listened to it, were offended, and then ran straight to my parents to, because they know it would upset them. And this is something that's bothered me for so long, because these people that do this, they're religious, they are Christians, and I love Christians. I've said on this show so many times that, I like religious people. I like people with crazy out there beliefs and stuff like that, and I think it's hacky to make fun of Christians. But there's some Christians that are just so fucking insufferable because they don't follow their own beliefs. Like, they love to gossip, they love to meddle in other people's lives. They call their daughters whores if they, dress a little bit too sexy. Just a lot of really damaging stuff. And I've had this problem over the years where forever I have not had my mom on my Facebook, 'cause my mom's deeply religious, and I don't want to upset her. I would rather maintain the relationship. And 2 years ago, I posted a photo of my butt on Facebook with a really funny caption, because the election had just happened and everyone was posting their I just voted selfies because I'm so awesome. So I posted hey, didn't vote today because I live in Europe and I'm so cultured and I pose nude and smoke cigarettes and talk about the evils of socialism. It was funny. It got 200 likes. It did well. It did well on Facebook. Anyways, One of these church moms decided to like screenshot that, send it to my mom, and she's like really upset, calling me mad. And this is like at a time where I'm healing from a brain injury still. My mental health is really fragile. And I'm like across the world getting angry messages from my family. And it's just like, dude, fuck these Christian housewives that just feel like they need to meddle in other people's lives. And the worst part is they do it from a angle of concern, which makes it worse. You know, like, we're just so sad that Quinn's not walking with the Lord, and I just have to tell his mom that he's doing this because, like, she needs to know what her son is up to. It's like, bitch, I'm almost 30. Leave me alone. And it sucks because I want to unfriend these people, but I can't because I don't know exactly who they are. I have my suspicions, but they don't understand the comedic nuance, and instead of just turning the podcast off or scrolling past my post, they feel the need to contact my family and make my life more difficult and undo the work I've done in separating those two worlds. So if you are listening, I want you to know you're a bad person. You're not a good person. I know you think you're a good person, but it literally says in the Bible to not be someone that gossips and meddles in other people's lives and creates drama. And that's all you do. So if you're really worried about my salvation, stop looking in my yard and look in your own backyard, okay? If you're really worried about salvation, worry about your own. Stop meddling in my life. I'm almost a 30-year-old man, okay? I turned 27 in like 4 months. I mean, I'm not almost 30, but I'm getting close to 30, okay? I don't need these women who say they love me and care about me and pray about me meddling in my life, going through my social media, finding what's offensive, and sending it to my parents, who I know will find it offensive because I'm trying to be my own man here. And I guess it's just like, man, if I know there's some people who listen to this who I know from church or, you know, a lot of artists, and, you know, maybe you've gone through this, and it is painful accepting that your parents won't enjoy what you do. It sucks, and I've had it over and over again, especially with my family. You know, they hate that I say fuck and shit, and, you know, I could literally tell them, like, hey, this kid that used to go to our church said that my podcast inspired him to follow his dreams and work hard and, you know, stay away from, like, drugs and alcohol, you know, doing that in abundance. And their reaction will literally be like, oh, yeah, well, it makes me sad that he heard your podcast because you say fucking shit in it. And it's just like, it's just the things they focus on, you know? And I don't want to bag on my family too much here because I do love them, and I've worked so hard to separate those two worlds. But if you are someone who is connected to my parents and felt the need to send this podcast to them with the things you don't like, I would appreciate it if you would kill yourself. Don't actually kill yourself. That is an example of a joke. You know, I don't actually want you to kill yourself. I do want you to go fuck yourself, though. That is something I do want you to do. Don't kill yourself. Do go fuck yourself. Kill yourself is the joke. Fuck yourself is serious, because it's just so frustrating to have your hard work undone by people that just like upsetting people, that like drama, like gossip, like to sit around and be like, it's so sad about his salvation. I'm pretty sure I've beaten this topic into the ground now. So I guess, hey, immediate family member who I bagged on, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry I did that publicly. I meant everything I said. I'm sorry I did that publicly, and it was immature of me. I shouldn't have done it. But also, it's really hard when you know, you have someone in your life who kind of hates you, and they don't acknowledge that they hate you. They act like they don't hate you, but they like consistently treat you badly. It's kind of like this awful form of gaslighting, you know, because they're like, no, I don't hate you, but I'm just going to like ignore you and your girlfriend, who's a woman of color, by the way, woke family member, at the family dinner. You should be on your knees apologizing to my girlfriend for your whiteness. Oh, man. So I guess that's all I'm going to say about this. You know, it's, you know, how can we tie this in? How much leeway should you give to your family and how you live? I mean, there comes a point where you need to decide what kind of man you're going to be, or woman. I want this to be accessible to all genders. What kind of person you're going to be. And I feel like a big part of that is separating your identity from your parents, because when you grew up, you view your parents as God. You know, they house you, they created you, they fed you. But eventually, like, the marker of an adult is like when you decide what your values are, what you believe, how you want to conduct yourself in the world. And, you know, if you're your own person, oftentimes you're going to have things that you disagree with your family. And I think that is a part of growing up. And this has been like a very interesting couple of days for me because I've had to like really think, okay, how do I want to conduct myself in this podcast going forward? Do I want to like scale back the humor and so that, you know, no one can take things out of context and send it to my parents and upset them and undo the hard work I've done at rebuilding that relationship? Or do I want to like continue to be myself? And I guess the answer is like somewhere in the middle, because there was a part of me that wanted to like come on the show in character and just be like, fuck you, I don't give a fuck. But the truth is, like, I do give a fuck. Like I do care about upsetting my family, which sucks. Like I wish I could just not give a shit at all. But at the end of the day, I love them. They're my family. Now, there are some family members, don't get me wrong, who I don't give a fuck about at all. I had another family member like a year ago when COVID was first happening message me. And I was in Australia where COVID wasn't as big of a thing. There wasn't a lockdown. There wasn't a shutdown yet. Everything was like relatively normal. And she was messaging me from Canada, yelling at me about something I had posted on my Facebook story because I wasn't social distancing with someone. And as she was messaging me, like being very, and shocker, essential worker. These essential workers are out of control, man. I can't fucking stand them right now. Starts messaging me being like, hey, like you shouldn't be doing this. You need to be taking this more seriously. And I calmly explained to her, listen, I am taking it seriously. I am, in another country. I have roommates, so we can't really do the whole like isolate thing, but also like where I am, that's not mandatory. We don't have that many cases. And I responded so nicely, and her response was like, wow, if you want to be a little dickwad, then go ahead. I guess you still have a lot of growing up to do, little boy. Like, was just so fucking mean. And I was like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I responded with, hey, go fuck yourself. And then a few days ago, there was a family dinner. I found out this family member was attending, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go because I don't feel like I can interact with that family member in a family setting without making a scene. Like, I'm not going to see her and be like, oh, hey, auntie, how's it going? Yeah, and hug her and be like, hey, bitch, how's it going? You were really fucking nasty to me. Because here's the thing. You should never put up with anything from your family that you wouldn't put up with from your immediate friend circle. Now, there is a difference there, like in the age gap thing. My family, my parents are older, so they have like different ideas on abortion or gay marriage. They're religious, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, I know I'm not going to sway them on those topics, but like in terms of how someone treats you directly, don't put up with anything from your family that you wouldn't put up with from your friends. Really. This whole idea that you need to give them more leeway because you came out of the same vagina, or you became out of like a similar vagina, or 3 vaginas removed, or whatever. I'm not going to make this an insult thing. Is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And I think it's really toxic. Like, I've been in relationships with women who have like really toxic relationships with, or really, toxic family members that they just like feel pressure to like keep associating with, and they just continue to do damage. And that's why I'm like such a big fan of like the honesty of just like telling someone to fuck off when they've wronged you. And now, where I went wrong with the other family member who I shat on the podcast was like, I could have gone directly to her and told her to fuck off. But we'd been there, and I knew that wouldn't do anything. And I went to my podcast like a little bitch because I only had 10 people listening to it at the time. But, I'm a big fan of just being like, hey, listen, I don't accept this behavior from you, and moving on, cutting off the bad fruit and moving on. It's just not worth it. It's really not worth it to keep these people in your lives, especially right now during COVID, where everyone, no matter, like, this is what I'm starting to notice. Like, it doesn't matter if you've lost anything at all. Everyone is on the edge of a mental breakdown. Like, literally everybody, even the people who are still going to work and are still, making money and haven't really lost anything. They're all starting to lose it. It's like, yo, when can we go back to normal? And I think it is around the corner. I got really fucking mad when Bonnie Henry announced those like new restrictions fucking over restaurants that I actually like joined an anti-lockdown protest. And I'm in a weird spot because I'm pro-mask, pro-vaccine, and then anti-lockdown. So there's no protest for me. You know what I mean? You go to the anti-lockdown protest and it's just a bunch of 5G retards. And unfortunately, Bonnie Henry pushed me to that point where I had to go to a protest and be like, yeah, what do we want? To open up. We love small businesses, blah, blah, blah. And then this protest merged into another protest. And that protest was an anti-abortion protest. And I was just like, okay, fuck this. I am out. I am done. All come full circle, hasn't it, with Lil Nas X releasing that video where he's twerking on Satan's dick, and the conservatives are starting to look a little bit snowflakey to me. I've shit on the left a lot on this podcast. I think this one is going to be shitting on the conservatives, because the conservatives kind of had this kind of punk rock thing going for a little bit. They really did, because the left was dominating the cultural narrative, and they were slowly going insane. And slowly losing large sections of the population. And then the conservatives were like the only ones that were like willing to step in and be like, these motherfuckers have gone insane. Fuck you, come join us. And a lot of us were like, you know what? The conservatives are starting to talk some sense. Like, maybe they're not the 1990s Bill O'Reilly, cancel Marilyn Manson Christians we thought they were. Let's go hang out with these guys. And then overnight, like, Lil Nas X releases this video. Cardi B starts twerking on stage. And they're like, they just became the exact same snowflakes. It's like, fuck you. Let Cardi B twerk her booty on stage. Let Lil Nas X fucking ride Satan's dick. If you don't like it, don't let your kids listen to it. Duh. Same thing as fucking Marilyn Manson in the 90s, dude. This is ruining our culture. Turn it off. Who gives a fuck? Let Cardi B twerk her booty, man. Is that what gonna Lil Nas X? I didn't watch the whole video of him, grinding on Satan's dick or whatever. I was just like, wait. I'm like, are no progressives gonna come out and address the power imbalance going on here? The fact that Lil Nas X is a human and Satan is a supernatural being. So, therefore, Lil Nas X cannot properly consent to this encounter because of the gross power imbalance between them. He's just a helpless little victim. Sorry, I know I said I was going to shit on conservatives, but I couldn't help but throw a little dig at the left there. But yeah, man, conservatives have come full circle. I think they did what the left kind of did, where they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to come after your kids. We're not going to tell your kids to fucking chop their dicks off and take growth hormones. We just think two people can get married. And then we're all like, okay, two people can get married. Totally. And then 10 years later, they're like, yeah, no, kids, chop your dicks off if you think you're a girl and you're 9 years old. And we're like, fuck, you tricked us. Now the conservatives are doing that. They're just like, yeah, no, man, we want freedom of speech. We want everyone to do whatever they want. We're not going to tell anyone how to live. And then a black woman starts like, being a bit sexy. And they're like, no! The mask slips once again. All these people are full of shit. This is why I never tie myself to like the left or the right, because it's like these words change meaning all the fucking time. All the fucking time they change meaning. And one day, being left wing is like cool, it's in, and then all of a sudden they go too far that it's like, Jesus Christ, you're one of those guys. And same with the right. One day you're just like, hey, because conservative just means to conserve, like what already is. So like we could get so progressive that to be a conservative is like a good thing. Like we're so progressive, we've got everything sorted that I want to conserve. But like here's a take that I had that will please nobody, and I don't even know if it's true, but this is like what I feel. I feel like Canada is so far left that if you're not a little bit right wing, you're an idiot. And America is so right wing that if you're not left wing, you're an idiot. I have no idea if that holds up to political scrutiny, but it's what I feel. It's my truth, okay? It's my lived experience. Anyways, culture is fun. Cancel culture is fun. What else should I talk about that's a fucking cliche? I guess I really did want to touch on was like confrontation, when to use it and when not to use it. Because I talked so much on my previous podcasts about how like confrontation is the best, and we need to learn how to use it as a generation. We've been, fucked over by social media and, texting. But I feel like I didn't like go over the importance of knowing when not to confront someone, because confrontation isn't like, it's a tool. It's a tool in the toolkit. It's not a fix-all tool, You don't solve every problem in your house with a hammer. If you did, your house would be fucked. So I guess like I want to go over some times where like I wasn't confrontational and why. Because if you listen to this podcast, I talked about like a particular coworker that I worked with who made my life fucking nightmare. And then I had to like work with him again on another project. And my friend asked me like, hey, why didn't you confront him when you were working on the other project? And it was like, because it didn't benefit me. Like the dude was higher up in the hierarchy than me. So if I were to like go up to him and be like, hey, you're fucking this up. You're a shitty work ethic. You're making me look bad. You could just easily go to our boss and be like, hey, Quinn is causing problems on set. So what I did instead was I went to his boss, who's both of our bosses, and just said, hey, I can't work with this guy. So if you want to move me to another shift, that'd be great. And you know what? That fucks him way harder. You know, the fact that our higher up boss saw me work really, really hard over the last week, and I'm coming to him and saying, hey, I don't want to work with this guy, says a lot. Whereas, like, if I just go confront this guy, one, he's not going to give a fuck what I have to say. Then he's just going to go to his boss and be like, hey, Quinn is causing drama. And guys known him way longer, then I'm fucked. Confrontation isn't always the right route, but it certainly can be. Like, oftentimes, and that's the other thing, confrontation doesn't always have to be like, hey, fuck you. Sometimes it's just an uncomfortable conversation that we wish we didn't have to have. And you know what? Here's a good story. One time I was street performing in Edinburgh during the Fringe, and there was this guy who had broken the rules and was banned from street performing for the day. And how it works is like we do a draw at the beginning of the day. We all put our names in the hat, pull the names out, and then whenever your name comes out, that's when you get to sign up for your show. The dude was banned from the draw for breaking the rules the day before. And later on in the day, someone didn't turn up for their time slot, their show. And what we do when that happens is we create another draw, like a little mini draw with all the other performers in the area to find out who gets that show. And he tried to enter that draw the same day he was banned. And I was like, no, you don't get to do that. You're fucking banned for the day, dude. Like, you don't get to be in this draw. And he was like, no, I could be in this draw. And I was like, fuck you, dude. You're so slippery. I see you do this all the time. I see you try to skirt the rules and cheat the rules just to make a buck. You're being fucking slippery. Fuck you, dude. Dude loses it on me. Loses it. Literally just goes, fuck you, Quinn. You're fucking with my money. Grabs me, pushes me up against the wall, puts his elbow into my throat, starts screaming at me. My coworkers grab him and pull him off. He's like, you're fucking with my money. Blah, 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 blah. Now, at the end of all this, you may be wondering, dude attacked you. Why did you not punch him in the face or fight back? It was like, well, because I knew this is a work environment. It's the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which means we're like under the umbrella of the Fringe, meaning like we have people who could fire us. If he attacks me and I fucking hit him, the story to the higher-ups becomes Quinn and so-and-so got into a fight. Whereas if I don't fight back, the story becomes so-and-so attacked Quinn, right? Very different thing. And luckily, I had the foresight to be like, don't fight back. My friends are going to fucking pull him off me. And sure enough, this guy ended up looking like a piece of shit. And what's even better is the dude made himself look like a total ass the next day. The next day, we go to the draw. So with street performing, it's very like democratic how we like deal with issues. So what happened is the next day at the draw, there's like 90 street performers gathered. And the guy, Andy, the head of it all, stands up there and goes, okay, we had a situation yesterday where a performer attacked another performer. We obviously can't have this happening. We need to decide what we're going to do about it. That being said, I think it's only fair that these two tell their sides of the story. And I almost said his name. The performer said, I'll go first. And I was like, all right, go ahead, man. So he stands up there and he goes, listen, Quinn accused me of being slippery. When he said that I was slippery, he insulted my integrity as a man. And I come from a culture of violence where when someone insults your integrity as a man, you respond with violence. And I'm sorry that I did it on Fringe property. Next time, I will do it off of Fringe property. Thank you. Dude literally got up there and was like, I am a dangerous, violent man, and I will do it again. So at this point, everyone is like, yo, fuck this guy. So I stand up and I just go like, yeah, like he tried to enter the draw. It's not allowed. I said it wasn't allowed. He attacked me. That is all. And I sat down. And guess what? Dude was banned for the rest of the Fringe. Now, it's like, this is the thing. You give retards enough rope and they will hang themselves. I had to do literally nothing in that encounter. and he made himself look like a total fool from beginning to end. All I did was I was like, hey, fuck you, you're big, slippery, you're not allowed to do this, you're cheating the rules, you know you are. He attacked me. I didn't fight back because I knew that the moment I fought back, the story would change very quickly from this performer and Quinn got into a fight. I wanted it to be clear that this motherfucker attacked me, right? And he got banned for the rest of the Fringe. And what was kind of funny is he noticed the vibe change. Because when you stand, like, street performers are very liberal people. They don't like violence. So when you stand up in front of them and say, hey, I'm a violent man, and I'll attack someone again, they don't like it. So he noticed the shift in the vibe. And noticed that people were treating him differently. Like, no one was happy with him. So he went around saying, oh, actually, the reason I attacked Quinn was because he's a Nazi. And his evidence for me being a Nazi was that I had said once that Alex Jones is funny. And that Donald Trump was a mastermind when it came to manipulating the media. Both two things I stand behind. I literally said to him, I am not a Trump supporter, but the way Donald Trump manipulates the media, he's playing 4D chess, man. And Alex Jones is fucking hilarious. I don't stand by everything he says. Most of that, I don't. But I hate that caveat. Like, obviously, I don't agree with everything anyone says. But that was his fucking excuse. And it was hilarious because, like, I mean, I've been performing at that Fringe Festival for 6 years. It's his first year. He looked like a fucking idiot. He looked like a moron. You know, no one respected him, and he ruined his reputation in that community. And it is kind of sad because, like, I actually did. When I heard the Nazi thing, that's when I was like, yo, fuck this guy. And I actually did go and confront him again. I was like, yo, you can't be going around telling people I'm Nazi. That's fucking bullshit. You know you were in the wrong. And he just, like, I watched him try to justify to me why he was calling me a Nazi. And when I was finished the conversation, I can't remember exactly what he said, but when he was finished the conversation, I wasn't actually mad at him because I came to the realization, oh, I am not talking to a sane human being. Like, I could see the insanity in his eyes, the mental gymnastics and the mental and emotional disconnect. The dude had just really embarrassed himself and was just scrambling to find anything to justify his behavior. And I actually stopped being mad at him after I confronted him and he basically justified why I was a Nazi because, and that's the thing, you don't get that over text with someone. You just go, fuck this person, they're insane. But when I like looked into his eyes, I was like, this guy's insane and he's in pain. And I kind of just dropped it. And you know what? I actually like reached out to him at the end of the Fringe. I was like, hey, man, let's be friends again. Because I was just like, this guy's clearly mentally unhinged, having a hard time. He's not a very good performer. So like, yeah, for me, like I am a good performer. So for me to be like calling him out like that probably felt a lot like bullying to him if he sees me up here and him down here in the hierarchy. Now, I wasn't bullying him. He was slippery. He was breaking the rules. But like, the moment I knew he was crazy, I just put myself in his shoes. I'm like, it's not worth it. Everyone knows he's crazy. And that's the thing. Sometimes you need to know when to call it quits with someone, when to empathize with the other party. And I feel like I fucked that up on that podcast I did going after that family member of mine. Because like, I feel like I could have easily solved that in person. But instead, I just like went after them and created drama within my family. Now, that being said, I didn't think she would ever hear it. I had like no listeners at the time. The only reason she heard it is because of these fucking scummy church wives that like to fucking, you know, go around and gossip. This is so funny because it's like me apologizing and like my family might be like, oh, we did a podcast, and they're just going to listen to it. It's going to be like 40 minutes of me telling their friends that they're cunts and they should kill themselves. But I do love my family. I don't want to like have beef with them. But also, Mom, stop listening to this. It's not for you. You are not my demo, okay? Christian women in their 50s, not my demo. Crazy street performers from no, I'm not gonna shit on that guy anymore. But yeah, man, that's what's been going on in my world. Really exciting stuff. Now, another thing that's been happening to me that is quite interesting is I made a clickbait video about Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. And boy, being on the wrong side of the lobsters, not a good time. They are very mad at me. I've got like semi-viral. I got like 23,000 views right now and about 700 dislikes to 100 likes and 400 comments maybe. telling me that I'm a cunt and I should die. And it kind of hurts. I thought I'd be immune to internet criticism and feeling bad about it, but apparently no, it kind of hurts. I had to turn off my notifications because it was literally like every 5 minutes, my Apple Watch would ding and I would look down at it. It was like, so-and-so in Ottawa thinks you're a faggot. It was like, oh, God damn it. Fuck. Goddamn lobsters. But yeah, man, words hurt. Words hurt. Another thing that's interesting, CDC came out and said that 80% of those hospitalized with COVID are overweight. Interesting. 80%, you say. It's almost like if there were no obese people, this wouldn't be that much of a problem. Listen, I don't want to start bagging on fat people, but I'm going to. I got COVID and I had zero symptoms because I'm a healthy person and I put time into making sure I'm healthy. Fat people don't, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with you being fat. I don't care. But when your fatness is shutting down the entire world, not good. Why do you think they have such a lower death rate in Asia? Ooh, okay, this is going to be controversial. But in Asia, they have a very healthy culture of fat shaming. And as a result, COVID doesn't hit them as hard because it's mostly fat people who are being hospitalized and overwhelming the healthcare system. So maybe the BC provincial health doctor, Bonnie Henry, maybe instead of shutting down restaurants, you should be implementing a mandatory keto and fasting period. I'm serious. You want to stop the healthcare system from shutting down? Let's get these fatties in check, okay? I want every fat person starting right now to get on a keto diet and an 18 8-hour split for fasting and just 1 hour every 2 days of exercise. We do that in a year, we should be good. But it's mandatory. Like if you don't do it, the government's going to come in and fine you and throw you in jail. Like they're already doing, you know. If you don't quarantine, they throw you in jail. If you eat at a restaurant, they throw you in jail. I don't see how this is any different. The only difference is this is actually going to solve the problem of overwhelming the healthcare system. 80%. You're telling me if we were to drop the number of hospitalizations down 80%, we wouldn't be fully back to normal? You're crazy. So this is my strategy for saving the world and ending COVID. We're going to get every fat person in shape. Because it's interesting how junkies aren't ending up in the hospital for COVID because they're all skinny. God damn it! I just can't stop making controversial content. Fuck, every podcast I make some fun of someone. I wanted to call you. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you're a video listener, we're back in the storage closet with a nice background. My buddy Andrew said I should call this podcast "Pretty Boy Yells Hate Speech in Storage Closet." And I think it's a good name. But we're going to be putting more effort into the YouTube channel. I think I'm going to wrap up this podcast now because you know what? The whole situation with my family, it weighed so heavily on my mental health that I tried to record this podcast 4 or 5 times, and I kept getting 3 or 4 minutes in and just fucking shutting down mentally. So this is as far as I've gotten in a while, and I'm pretty happy with it. So we're going to leave this here. Everyone, have a great day and a beautiful life. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Mighty Bro Show. I'm actually going to release this one sooner because I did a podcast interview with my buddy Richie, and I feel like I actually don't like doing 2-person podcasts on my podcast because the whole thing that I'm selling is me, not me and some fucking dude I like. So I felt like it wasn't fair to you guys to give you that as the weekly podcast. So I'm going to be releasing this one now. What's today? Friday. Just because I don't know, I felt shitty about the other one being late, and then it was me talking about film. Some of you guys probably don't know what we're talking about, so it won't happen again. I'm not going to do podcast interviews with people again. I will, but it'll probably be a separate, it'll probably just be my YouTube channel, not the audio. But because that's the thing, it's so weird to me how all these comedians are starting podcasts and it's just them interviewing open micers. It's yo, dude, no one wants to hear from that fucking guy. They think they're Joe Rogan. It's Joe Rogan's successful because he gets access to really fucking famous, powerful guests. not like some cunt that made you laugh at an open mic. No one wants to hear you two talking for an hour. Literally nobody. Your podcast is you selling yourself, your line of thinking, your brand, and your humor. You can't do that when you're interviewing someone on a daily basis. It's like the difference between Bill Burr's podcast and Joe's podcast is huge. It's like a totally different thing. So that's my advice to comedians. If you're listening and starting a podcast, do not, for the love of God, make an interview-style podcast. I promise you it will not grow. It will not grow. No one is going to be invested in you talking to a different one of your friends every week, because it doesn't give them the opportunity to grow and showcase your ability and your talents and your line of thinking. It's just a fucking bad move. So we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon here. I will be doing some more interviews, but they'll just be on my YouTube channel, not the audio section of the Bro Show. Everyone, have a great day and a beautiful life. Thank you once again. Like I said, it really fucked my mental health this week, having my family shitting on my podcast. And I get why they wouldn't like it, but keep those positive messages coming, because they really do mean a lot to me and help me get through the day. Have a great day and a beautiful life. Thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Love you all. Cheers.